Hello and welcome to the Business Today show. I'm Udayan Mukherjee. You've seen many traditional industries being highlighted in this show over the last many weeks and months. CEOs and chairmen and owners of very traditional companies. But today we have an unusual one. We have with us the man who's revolutionized the casino and the gaming business in India, or the gambling business in India, if you will. He's the casino king, Jaydev Mody, chairman of Delta Corp. Jaydev, it's good to see you again and great to have you on the show today.
Hi Udayan, thanks for having me. Pleasure being on your show.
Great. Thanks, Jaydev. So, for many of us who've spent the last few decades in Bombay, we know you as the person who was instrumental in the iconic Crossroads Mall, or associated with projects like Peninsula Park or Ashok Towers. And then suddenly you turned course and you moved into casinos and became the gambling king of the country. Do you have the spirit of a serial entrepreneur, you would say, about you?
Udayan, I love doing new things. I like to do different things. Crossroads was the first mall which revolutionized organized retail in India, and it was different. The structure was different. It dealt with all the tenancy laws, etc., and made sure that the owner of the mall is safe with the under the tenancy laws. Corporate Park, Peninsula Corporate Park was the same. It was, I think, it was a great development. It took care of all the needs of corporates, and it was new, it was different, and I had fun doing it. And then I had enough of real estate, and I thought I'd take a kind of a break when I was 50, and then this opportunity came along, and again it was different. So I kind of delved deeper into it, and then of course started with 1, 2, and 3, and we have 8 casinos today. It was new and it was exciting, and I love the business. So it was opportunistic at that time, and I've had a lot of fun in the last 15 years building this business.
Was it purely opportunistic, Jaydev, or were you a keen gambler yourself before that, which led you to this opportunity in the first place?
I can't call myself a serious gambler. I like to punt now and then on the races, etc. But this was more like an opportunity that presented itself in Goa, where they said, that they opened 6 licenses in Goa offshore. And it was purely opportunistic. It had nothing to do with my passion for racing or gambling or anything like that. It was a business for me, and I understood the numbers well and went for it.
But in India, gambling or anything to do with casinos is seen as, by many people, as something which is not a very honorable pursuit, almost like as if a social stigma is attached to it. Did you ever feel bothered by that?
Constantly. But people don't realize that gambling has been part of our culture for eons, for years, and it's just become like this because it's a soft target for political a party on the other side or the opposition looking for something, and they've always targeted these what they call sin businesses, and I've had to deal with that in the last 15 years, and we are now kind of used to it. And that has to change, hopefully, in the coming years. We are a business, and we should be looked at like a business.
It's not just a social or cultural phenomenon even, Jaydev. I mean, if you look at government regulations, it almost seems like it's a business which is always swimming against the tide of government regulation, taxation, laws, permissions or not, sometimes given, sometimes taken away. Do you think it'll ever go away, or will this always remain an overhang on the business per se?
I think it's still early days, and therefore the overhang will stay. But slowly as time goes by, it'll get diluted more and more, and people will accept that there are corporates that are doing this business, and it's not just gambling. It's a great evening to come on any of our casinos. It's just not, kind of pure. It's not a gambling den. There's entertainment, there's great food, and it's a great evening out at a casino, and it's entertainment really. It's not purely gambling, and therefore I think people will understand that, and it'll get diluted as time goes by.
Where do things stand now, Jaydev, with Goa, which is your primary destination, in terms of the land laws, permissions, onshore, offshore? I mean, are you fully resolved with the litigations and the regulations there, or is it still a grey area?
No, in Goa it's absolutely clear. There are no grey areas. The little things, kind of come up since it's a new industry. And regulation is still to come in place. This thing goes on a little bit, you keep getting something or the other, and therefore after that thing is resolved, it becomes a little clearer, and therefore gets less and less grey every day or every year. But otherwise it's smooth sailing. There is no issue. We are managing it.
What about the Delta in Daman, though? I mean, that too has been mired by a lot of regulatory issues in the past.
So we filed a writ. As you know, we've gone to court 4 years ago. We are, set for the final hearing for the last 10, 15 days. The matter's on board, and it keeps coming up, and it doesn't get heard because of the the backlog, etc. But we are at the stage of final hearing, and we think that the moment that is done, we are hoping to get a favorable reply. We have a firm, a letter of intent from the government and from the administration, and once the court sees all this, I think it should get resolved in our favor, hopefully.
So how soon do you see operations starting in Daman, and if it does, as you expect, how big a contributor could it be to Delta Corp?
It all depends on the courts and when the High Court will decide the matter. But once it decides the matter, we can start. We get an order in our favor. We can start within 30 days, and it will be a huge kind of benefit for Delta, because we think that Daman can do at least 20% of what our current top line is, and contribute a lot to our top line and bottom line. It's a huge market. It's a great market. It will change Daman, and we think it will do exceedingly well. We have a nice hotel there, which is operating well, and we know the kind of customer, etc., in the region. So we think it's very important for the future of Delta Corp, and I hope to get a favorable judgment from the courts.
Now, since you mentioned the hotel in Daman, I also wanted to ask you about the hospitality ventures which Delta has. I mean, is it just a necessity kind of a project for you? Because obviously the return ratios in hotels, as you would know better than most people, are nowhere compared to the return from the casino business. Do you do it because you have to do it, or is it a business which excites you, the hospitality part of it?
No, absolutely. It doesn't excite me at all. We only like to do a hotel where we run the gaming casino business, because we need to house our players, and a hotel is an integral part of that. And the hotel business really doesn't make money with land prices and cost of construction the way has been for the last few years, and gone even further in the last 2-3 years during COVID. It just doesn't make sense, but it's crucial to our gaming business.
You also have projects in Sikkim and in Kathmandu. I want to understand from you what kind of potential you see in those businesses. Are they peripheral in nature? I mean, just to extend the brand to other geographies, or do you see meaningful potential in either Sikkim or in Nepal?
So we've been running these, at least Sikkim, for the last few years. It's a small market, but it's a steady market. And Kathmandu, we've opened recently, very, very recently. The moment we opened, within a few days, we had to shut because of COVID, and we opened only last year, reopened last year. That's a big market, and if we get an opportunity, we'd like to do, a couple more casinos in Nepal. But in Sikkim, I think what we have is enough for the market, and once the market grows, we'll look at other opportunities. But they are all markets compared to Goa.
Yep, right. Now, having been such an early starter in this casino business, in the real casino business, the physical casinos, one would have thought that you were in the perfect position to have been the early entrant and be the #1 player in the online gaming business as well. And while you have made strides out there with Adda 52, would you concede that the success or your dominance in that space is not nearly as much as in the physical casino domain?
No, clearly not. Even Adda 52 is compared to some of the other gaming businesses. It's poker as such is a smaller kind of smaller business than fantasy or rummy, etc. But there is a huge future, because the younger kind of younger people play poker more than they do rummy, and we think that we can grow the poker business substantially over the next few years. We also have a small rummy business which we are trying to grow, and we have a multi-gaming platform. But I think that being the leader in the actual physical gaming space is going to be much larger, because we haven't scratched the surface yet. And we'll be able to grow that much faster. We understand that business much better. So I think we want to actually grow both the businesses, but the casino business, the live casino business, is something closer to our heart, and has been, but now it's changing. We are seriously kind of making a lot of effort to grow our online business as well in the multi-gaming platform and in the real money gaming space.
Having said that, you're about to do a IPO of your technology company, or the online part, Delta Tech. If you can give us an update of where things stand on that, and how soon we can expect the IPO to go through, because it's taken a bit of a while to hit the market.
So we've been waiting for the approval from SEBI. They've been backlogged, and therefore, it just took longer to get the clearance from SEBI, which we've got just a few days ago. So now we are in touch with the merchant bankers, and we are doing a dipstick meeting, various investors, etc. Going to do a roadshow from starting now, going into November, and then looking at markets in November. We hope to launch soon after that. We think that we can finish the entire IPO by the end of this year, at least hoping to do that. But it all depends on the markets, Udayan.
And with the money that you raise, I mean, what will be the focus of Delta Tech going forward? You will have capital on your hands. I mean, where is the real opportunity according to you, Jaydev? I mean, is it in the real money games? Is it in the casual games? Is it in esports? Which direction do you want to take the online business in?
We'd like to take it in the two verticals, which is the real money gaming space and the casual games, which is the multi-gaming platform. We restrict ourselves to those two areas. We will do it organically and inorganically. We'll make some acquisitions. There are lots of smart young guys around who don't have the capital to grow. We kind of tie up with them, etc. And grow businesses in both these verticals. There's a lot to be done, actually.
What are your thoughts on what the government is trying to do on the online gaming side with regard to laws and taxation, GST, etc.? Because there have been a lot of complaints from the industry about some of the taxation being actually punitive and restrictive. Do you agree with that assessment, and what would your suggestions be on that front?
So there are two aspects to this. One is the regulation of online sites which are doing business, and the other is the GST issue. So as far as regulating is concerned, government has finally seen that this is a large business and it's going to grow even more. And even today there's an article saying that they are going to regulate, they're going to put things in place. They license online gaming companies, they'll do proper KYC online, etc. And this is going to be very, very important because there are so many illegal gaming sites that people operate in India, some of them from overseas, from Cyprus, from non-regulated areas, and they don't pay GST, they're not licensed, there's no reliability on payouts, etc. So regulation is the number one thing that the government needs to do, which they're doing actually now. The other is the GST part, where there is this whole confusion about what the GST should be, how it should be charged, whether skill games and skill games are different from real money games, or playing for money on skill games should be the same as pure gambling, GST on pure gambling, which is all now being kind of addressed by the GOM appointed by the council. The GOM has met a few times. They've actually made the effort to go to race courses, to casinos. They've talked to online people, and they finally have clarity that these three verticals that are being questioned, which are horse racing, online gaming, and casinos, how they should be taxed, and they should be different from each other. They cannot be the same because each one is a different business. One is as different as making steel and cement. So they finally realized that, and they are in the process of putting in their reports, etc., and rationalizing the entire process of how GST is to be paid and how it is to be charged. I think they will all be on, we are already paying 28%, which is the highest rate of GST for casinos. But the online gaming space pays 18% and horse racing pays 28%. It's the method that is important. And if they rationalize that, all these three industries can really grow. And we are hoping that that the GOM will suggest to the council how this is to be done, because the knowledge is much, much greater now than it was, say, a year ago.
So much of your work seems to be tied up with all these regulations, taxation, permissions, litigations. Do you sometimes feel that, you're almost like a quasi-lawyer, more than an entrepreneur or a head of a business?
Yeah, but it's happening all over. It's not only in our business. Everything's getting tighter. Compliance has become very important now. And with the new GST law, which is still new, there are so many new acts that the government has promoted in the last few years, and therefore there is just to get clarity, litigation has to happen, and the right judgments come in, and there's a whole learning process. It's not only for me, I think, or for my business, it's for a lot of industries, and we are having our fair share of it, frankly.
Does it help to have arguably India's sharpest lawyer as your wife, Jaydev Mody?
Of course it does. It certainly does. She is a stickler for compliance and doing things the right way, and it's been very useful. Her input has always been fabulous.
For a lot of people, it's an odd marriage, if you don't mind me saying that. I mean, here you are running casinos and you're looked on as the gambling king, and you go home to the spouse who's, the model of probity in corporate life, which as India's top corporate lawyer. How do the two sit together?
Tough sometimes. It's tough sometimes. We are on North and South Pole in what we do. But it's working so far, so no worries there.
I'm sure there aren't. But I also want to ask you about your association with other, you know, titans of Indian business, because, you know, you have an old association with Ajay Piramal from back in the real estate days. And with Delta Corp's foray into the African real estate business, I think you also partnered with Mukesh Ambani. I mean, how has it been interacting and engaging with these people?
That's no, fantastic. I mean, with Ajay, I was associated with Ajay for years and years, and his management style is unbeatable. He's fantastic, you know, to deal with. He never questions anything, very trusting, and it was fabulous to work with him, frankly. And as far as doing the Africa bit with Mukesh Ambani was concerned, he was and still is very, very excited about Africa. He thinks that there is going to be a huge future. The time for Africa will come. But we think we got into it too early. I think the country, most of the continent needs another 20, 30 years to kind of come to a level where they can actually, you know, be the next continent of the future. Right now it's India, and it'll happen in Africa. But the time we went there, it was a bit early. We found it very difficult to deal with the bureaucracy, etc. And therefore, we built 7, 8 large projects there, and then slowly kind of got out of it. And I've started focusing on our gaming business again. But all I can say, it was fabulous working with both of them, and I really enjoyed it.
And the other person I want to ask you about is Rakesh Jhunjhunwala, who passed away recently. I mean, for a long time, a staunch supporter of your business, and I mean, I've heard him speak so passionately about Delta Corp, and I think he still remains a significant shareholder. What were your interactions with him like? I'm sure there have been many. How do you remember him?
Then I think you know him. I've seen your interviews with him. I think you know him as well as I do. You know what kind of I mean, he was a fabulous guy, extremely sharp, totally honest. He said what was in his mind and in his heart, and he was great to have on board our company board. He added a lot of value to our thinking, and it was just amazing the way he saw numbers, and he saw the business, and he saw the future. We really are going to miss him. It was so entertaining for him to be when he was on the board, and we are going to miss all that.
True. And that's where we'll end this show, Jaydev. It's been great talking to you. I wish you great luck with your businesses, both online and offline. And it was a pleasure having you on the show today. Thank you very much.